cannabinoids in a mechanical process versus a solvent process. So when you hear the word CBD, it's a slang term at this point. It does stand for cannabidiol. However, the industry uses it as a slang term. CBD, and so what does that mean? There's lots of processing methods on how to get that CBD. One of them is so growing your medicine, cannabis, and then dumping it in alcohol to get medicine, dumping it in poison to get medicine. I'm not sure it makes sense to you guys, your spirit, but it never made sense to me. And so I always steered clear with that. It didn't make sense to me. And the other processes is butane extraction. So hitting it with large gases, amounts of butane to extract the cannabinoids. And I'm not sure if I even have to tell you that that's toxic, but it is. I don't know if we have to really cover that. So one of the other extraction methods is CO2. So CO2 hits that plant material with large amounts of gas to extract that cannabinoid molecule. But what it also does is it does extract that cannabinoid, but what it does is it alters that cannabinoid from its original natural state. And all of those processes do it. So if you dunk your molecules in alcohol, what do you think happens? Well, when I dump my molecules in alcohol, I get drunk. Okay? I don't know what happens to you when you dump yours in a 200 proof alcohol, but that's what happens to my molecules. So if we were talking about pain, and if we're battling pain, we want an army to do that. Okay? Do you want, and if you were going to go to war, would you want just a naval battle, just ships? You want just ground forces? Do you want just Air Force? The battlefield is pain, and those processing methods, alcohol, butane, and CO2, isolate those molecules and puts that in the battlefield. So you put a CO2 alcohol extracted CBD molecule on the battlefield of pain, and it's missing arms and limbs. They play God with the molecules. They take terpenes out, they put terpenes in, and at the end of the day, that molecule is far from what that plant was originally designed for. And I know that you guys are more than welcome to ask questions as we go along here, but butane does the same thing. So if you were to hit that plant material with butane, you put that on the battlefield and it's missing arms and legs too. You put a molecule that's been processed with alcohol on the battlefield and it's going to shoot your friend. It's not going to shoot the enemy. It's going to, it doesn't know where's up and then where's down. That's what happens to my molecules when I get drunk. So back to a couple years ago, we found a way to cold press and mechanically extract the cannabinoids naturally. So we don't adulterate that molecule in any way with heat, gases, or solvents. So heat at some point kills everything, correct? So if you were to talk about, the extraction methods, so CO2, you're isolating molecules and you're concentrating them. So if you believe that your food is medicine and your medicine is food, okay, I'm not sure what molecules are concentrated and isolated as food, but you shouldn't be taking anything that is that. God did not make whatever God you believe in Mother Nature, and whatever else, whatever you feel has made you, did not make you to take anything concentrated or isolated. That's not food. If you eat an orange, you're going to get fiber. If you eat products, if you eat a banana, you're going to get a lot more than potassium, correct? those are the things that you actually need in order to fill your nutritional plate. So in today's world, we're really fast-paced. Our nutritional profile is lacking through our foods and our processing methods. So, you know, at some point you have to think about, okay, they say that hemp is food. Well, show me how. Show me that processing with a solvent or a butane extracted molecule belongs in your food system. It doesn't, right? It's not a whole food at that point. It's an adulterated molecule that man has made that then goes into your food stream. And the same thing goes with your animals. So, the way we process creates that natural molecule the way that your body was designed to uptake it. Okay, so your ancestors, my ancestors and your ancestors have been ingesting hemp for thousands of years, right? Okay, so how did they get that hemp? Or how did they get that ingestion, right? So CO2, ethanol, and butane were just invented in the last 40 to 50 years. We've only been really isolating molecules and concentrating them in the last 50, 60 years, correct? So how did we get this food? It was natural. Okay, so if you think about the hemp plant, if you think about medicine where it left off 80 years ago, plus before Prohibition came on, think of the life stage of this plant. Okay, you plant it in the ground, it grows, it buds, and what happens after the bud? Flowers, and then goes to, who said seed? Seed. Okay? So, 100 years ago, they took that plant, they hit it with CO2, correct? They did it with butane. It wasn't even a word. So, how did they get that Canada soil 100 years ago? They put it on the round, they cut that plant down after it went to seed, and they put it on that round wheel and put the donkey around the stone, and they pressed it just like they do olive oil. And what happened is the trichomes of that plant fell off in the oil. Nobody really even knew it. So the snake oil salesman traveled around and sold everybody snake oil, but that snake oil was actually, in my opinion, the real deal. And so that donkey, as it went around that stone, pressed that oil, the trichomes from the flower was left with it and pressed into the oil itself naturally. Now you won't get the highest cannabinoid count out of that oil, but in my personal opinion, you don't need 50,000 milligrams of cannabinoids a day. You need them in the right form that Mother Nature provided it for you. So,
Can you talk about what you talked about this morning with the your omega profiles and the way that the whole plant works? I thought that was a good talk.
yeah, so the seed, okay, I think is one of the most overlooked parts of this industry right now. So if you think about how are we going to feed people, okay? You think that little green plant that everybody's growing for medicine is food and it's going to feed people? No. It's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, okay? So the cannabinoids are important to put that Band-Aid on that bullet hole while your body heals. But how is your body going to heal itself? If you're always nutrient deficient, no CBD in the world is going to make you feel better. You're always going to feel bad as soon as your CBD wears off. So true healing comes from a nutritional profile unless you're dealing with an outside injury, a car wreck or a sports injury of some kind. So you're always going to be back in that same nutritional deficit without with CBD, just taking a tincture. You're not gonna fill that nutritional void that your body's screaming for, that's causing you to fill that. So the hemp seed in general, I believe, is one of the biggest futures of this industry. It has an omega profile of 3, 6, and 9, and it's a complete protein. And there's no way to, can I send you something to?
Yes. Could you go to your slides? Go to that.
So,
See whatever you have on, go to it.
okay, 1 second. Just 1 second, guys, this is important.
So we're doing that, I'll add, and let Jennifer pitch in on this, about the dosing. Thanks for coming in. Is anybody currently taking CBD or using a marijuana product that just came in? Good. So the dosing guidelines are a little bit erratic. This chart is something, this is an example of it. You can find different things on the internet, but the rule that we hear at the trainings that Jennifer goes to in pharmacology is start low, go slow. And so as JT's talking about that full entourage effect of all of the cannabinoids in the plant, you don't know how your body's going to react. It's not a test yet. We can test the essential fatty acid profile, we can test cholesterol and all the different stuff that we do traditionally, but there's no test for how much CBD is already in your body and how much do you need to get your desired effect. So what have you seen with patients in that reality?
We generally start people on 15 milligrams a day and then go up from there. We've had them on quite a bit more. Kennedy was on 120 milligrams at one point. We have a now 9-year-old kid that was taking 45 milligrams twice a day. Most people seem to do about 30 milligrams a day for chronic pain, anxiety, PTSD, sleep, just to manage symptoms.
So like she said with Kennedy, we started with, when we got the capsules out of the parking lot here and did it backwoods sale that day back at the Hemp Expo. We didn't know we were buying, and we figured out it was about 25 milligrams, and it didn't curb the seizures. Then we went to, next month we went to 50 milligrams. She was still having the seizures. Then we finally, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw the whole bucket at it, because now we're like, this is getting nerve wracking. Went to 100, and we got to a month, and we didn't see any seizures. We got to the next month, and it started going, and so you don't know what your numbers are gonna be, and you just have to start getting it in. Now, then it dropped down though. The more fish oil at that point that we gave her, she was doing 1,000 in the morning and 1,000 at night. Then it went down to 45 milligrams a day, and it all changed at that point. So there's a balancing act there. Okay.
And there's a report that, I'm not sure you can put it up, but there's a report that came out on Leafly, but July 7th, July 18th, I just started hearing about this about 6 months ago, and I started hearing it not only from some of my friends who are in the industry that are doing what I'm doing, seed oil extraction. They start telling me that their clients who are just taking the hemp seed oil alone are getting magnificent pain relief benefits from just the hemp seed. And it kind of goes along with what they just said again, Mark, about the omega fatty acids. So right now it's being talked about that the omegas are turning into cannabinoids in the body as your body processes them. So your body is turning those omegas into cannabinoids, which is, I believe, where they're getting the inflammation, the reduced inflammation from the body results. It's quite amazing if you think about it.
Before I click into that slide, you want to go into the other ones that you have?
So, a year ago, I developed these pellets, and I started thinking to myself, if it has this effect on us, we're mammals, So it's got to have this effect on our livestock. So and you can't bring up the videos, right, nothing like that? Okay. These two eggs right here, this was done at the Wisconsin University, and these two eggs right here was 6 days of our pellets being introduced into the pen, and this was a conventional fed egg. So right now, we're uncovering all of these things about this plant, and this plant has a lot to still to release. You know, we don't know everything about this plant, right? And if you say that you do, I think you're the biggest dummy here, okay? Because every day I learn something more about this plant that this plant isn't telling us right away. So I think that we're still years to come about finding the true potential of not only the plant, but the seed that comes along with it, the root, the whole plant. The eggs, so the pellets that we created, you know, we don't process with solvents. So if you were to process with solvents, like an alcohol extraction or a butane, and you have leftover product, you put it on the ground and ants won't eat it, okay? But you put it in front of a person and I could convince you it's completely safe. There we go. I could convince you it's completely safe, but I couldn't convince that chicken. Okay, right? I can't convince an ant that this is safe. But when it comes to food, you don't have to convince animals. They'll tell you whether it's good or bad, right? So we process with a whole plant, which means that we get the seed, we get the plant all together, and we press it into these pellets. And then the eggs are 6 days after those pellets being introduced to the pen. So what does that really mean? So you then have a product. I just showed you that it added 45% more protein to the eggs. So that could has the potential to reduce the need for hormones in our livestock. Okay. It also, if your livestock doesn't get sick, you don't have to give your livestock antibiotics. If your animals don't get sick, you don't have to give them steroids. So why are we giving all these animals steroids, hormones, and antibiotics? It has a lot to do with the food that we feed them. Okay, so what are we feeding them? Anybody know?
Corn.
Modified corn and soy. That's what is allowed by the federal government to feed our livestock animals on a large scale. It is illegal by federal law to feed your animals hemp. And you're like, well, wait a minute, JT, you have a product here, you're breaking the law. Well, luckily I live in Oregon, and they deem this, you won't see feed anywhere on that label. It's an animal remedy product. So that's how we were able to get by. That doesn't mean that I couldn't pile up 500 pounds in front of your cow and you could eat it all day, or remedy your cow all day long. So, in my personal opinion, the hemp seed, okay, is where we're really missing the boat. We need the cannabidiol, the cannabinoids, to put that Band-Aid on our pain, to bring that down, or lots of things. But when it comes to an animal and livestock, I think that we could really change the future of farming and the way we eat our foods. Because if I can put a steak on your plate that was raised without hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. Does that interest you? Of course. Or do you want a steak that's been injected with poison? Well, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? So this study right here is based on 100 grams. And 100 grams is, if you were to use it in your kitchen, it's 3/4 of a cup. So my eyes are blurry, and so I'm not sure if this is bad or right.
As good as we got.
Okay, so
So which one are you looking for?
right, the protein, this guy right here.
Protein is right here, 0.5 per 100 grams.
No, it's 45 milligrams. It's 45. It's 40. It's 44% protein. So the hemp seed.
Is this the seed or is this the whole plant?
That is the powder that we make. This is one of our raw products. So from the seed. Yeah.
Just seed?
It's seed and hemp. Yeah. Well, we use the whole plant. So.
Apex hemp seed oil. I don't know if this one.
Oh, you know what? I sent you the wrong one. So why?
Okay. All right. Like, look the other one. You gotta go back to your yeast.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I would like to get back real quick. The federal government makes a decision on what you can feed your animals, okay? So it's not you that can make that decision, it's our federal government. So what I mean by that is you can't go to a feed store and buy a hemp feed for anything that you're eating or livestock. That really needs to change, okay? Our farmers need a new crop to grow. B, our livestock is poison from birth. So if you start thinking about like that, then you're going like, wait a minute, why do I need steroids? Why do I need hormones? Why do I need antibiotics? If I'm not going to get sick, why do I need antibiotics? If I'm not sick, why do I get steroids? Why do I need hormones? So it has a way of balancing all those things out, I believe, on its own, if we just find the balance in ourselves. This right here is a new experiment for me. Like I said, we create a food grade CBD oil, which is completely safe. I put the oil in my kid's milk bottle. That's how well I know it's safe, because I wouldn't give it to my kid and sell it to you. Just wouldn't. Okay? And again, you can't convince a bee that that oil doesn't have any residual solvents or toxins in it. That bee will make up its own mind. So these bees, I'm feeding and prepping these bees for winter. And we're feeding the bees our CBD oil in this mixture for their food. And bees reduce about 30% over the winter through cold and wet and mites. So our goal is to create a healthier beehive and to keep our numbers up through the winter. And we're kind of excited to harvest the honey this next year to find out, what happens. As far as I'm concerned, life is my experiment, and we're going to find out. So it's an exciting time to be in this industry, I believe, because prohibition really stopped us from progressing and understanding this plant. And if you think about where would we be 80 years ago, Where would we be today if we hadn't had prohibition? I think we'd be wiping our butts with hemp, and we'd be writing with hemp paper and the whole 9 yards, which I think is coming very soon. Do you want to put a lab? You got a lab report on there?
I can get to yours.
One of the things that makes me feel like a conspiracy theorist, I guess, is the fact that when you start learning how to read a lab report, you start asking yourself more questions, like, well, why? So, in a lot of pull up. Residual solvents, or there's our certificates. There should be a.
Which one do you want?
Scroll down. Just, let's see, click on this one of these guys, yeah. Yeah, scroll down. Should be maybe a solvent attached to it. Keep scrolling down, yeah. Keep scrolling, right, hold on, go back up. So I can see the top of this page. Right there. Okay, keep scrolling down, sorry. To the next page. That's good. Okay, all right. Now, it's really hard to see, but I want to kind of give a description on how to read a lab report and why it's so important to what is going inside you, okay? So right here, this is a copy of a lab report, and this is pesticides, okay? So if you were to read this lab report, you're gonna go result, the consumer go the result, and LOQ. LOQ means it's none detected, okay? So in the back of your mind, you'll walk away from this real fast and going, hey, there's no pesticides in this, right? I feel completely safe. But what you may or may not know is what's called an action level. How many know you guys know what an action level is? All right, okay? An action level says that there is no action until the parts per million goes above this red line in the sand. So that doesn't mean that there's no pesticides in this. That just says that the state who sets those standards, this action level, and these are the standards, and it's really blurry, and you'll be able to see that all of these are different. And all these are different also with residual solvents and heavy metals. So why is that important? Because every single product tells you when it's processed with butane that there's no residual solvents. They'll show you a lab report that says, hey, you know what? Butane, LOQ, none detected. So the consumer walks away going, hey, it's completely safe. But that doesn't mean that there's no butane in it. That just means that the industry who set that standard with the state, the industry standard, sets that standard. That doesn't mean that there's no pesticides or residual solvents in there. It just means that there's none at that action level. And all those action levels are different. So what covers ethanol extraction, butane, all of those states, all of our states have certain action levels. So I believe that that's really important because scroll back down, please. This right here, ppm, stands for, you don't answer, I know you know, I can tell, parts per million, okay? So what do you think your body processes at? You just fluked. Trillion. Your body processes at parts per trillion, okay? The industry sets this out, parts per million. The difference between parts per million, parts per billion, and parts per trillion is the distance from the moon and back 100 times. Okay? So that shows you the increment levels of how far that goes. Now, you will never get a lab report that says parts per trillion. I haven't seen one. I'm not sure they make one, but I can get my solvents down to parts per billion. I don't think anybody else in the industry can do that, and that's another reason why I believe that animals choose to eat the cold press method versus a ethanol or CO2 extraction. Because the animals, they don't need to read a lab report. They can tell at the parts per trillion on what is safe and what isn't. You're not going to fool an ant.
JT, can you cover the differences in THC levels in CBD and CBDA? Hit that topic real quick.
The differences.
Just how to read that. Where do you want me to go for that? That's a big question people have is, well, I know we have to get to the benchmark of 0.3% THC.
Okay, let's scroll back up.
A lot of confusion.
Sure. I think, I still have, I ask a bunch of questions. I had something came up this last week that I had to get clarification on, but no, same report, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so let's see this right here. Scroll down. Scroll down just a little. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the bottom. Keep going. It's touch screen, right? All right, that's good. Okay. So we're looking at this. How you read this lab report is really based on how you want to read it. Okay. So real quick, does everybody know how many cannabinoids that are in this?
60?
No. So how many milligrams of cannabinoids would be in this product? So remember what I said about in the beginning about pain? And your pain is a battlefield, right? Okay. So in that battle, you want all the cannabinoids, all your army in that fight to win the fight, right? So a lot of people in the industry are condensing, or excuse me, not condensing, but concentrating and isolating the molecule. Well, that means that they're going to put huge amounts of CBD in that product, okay? Well, you can obviously see that there's CBGA, there's THC, well, that's only two in this guy. Okay, so all of these, and this changes per strain. So we add the 26 plus 195, and then we also add the THC in it as well. This is a really low lab report, so if we could go to a higher one, it might help us. No, just go to back to the profile page. We gotta get one that, yeah, try that. That's gonna do it. Okay, scroll down. This is perfect. Okay. Now, let's look at the THC content of this lab report. Okay? How much THC is in it? Oh, there's a difference. Okay. So does the law govern THCA or THC? Are we in Oregon? Are we in Oregon right now? This is in Oregon? Umatilla. Okay, I'm from so.
We crossed the bridge, so we're in Washington.
Does Washington put the two together?
I don't know. What is it called?
Are you sure?
THCA, we have to calculate like 0.83.
So you have to take a percentage of that and count it into your total?
Yes. So like on our lab report, if it comes back with 10% THC and 1.3% THCA, we would say that 10% plus 87% of that will come free.
So probably what?
I have no clue.
So you take 1.38, multiply it times their factor.
Yeah, there's a multiplication.
So you would take, I got a new phone this morning, I can't operate, move back over. So their deal is, on this one, is they take 1.38 times what? 0.87, so they would have to pull 1.2 out of the number?
That's what our total THC would be. It would be about delta 8, delta 9, and then 87% of the THCA.
You're not in Oregon?
Thank God I live in Oregon. For the most part. Well, this says that total THC, and the law goes off percent by weight, right? So it's not milligram per gram, percent by weight. So,
We have 2 minutes to wrap up, please.
okay.
Give them the big 1-2 punch.
So you can see this product right here has CBGA, CBDA, CBD, THCA, and THC. So we count all those major cannabinoid, or all those the major ones and the minor ones, and add them together, because you want all those cannabinoids in the field. They all have a purpose and they all have value. So in Oregon, we don't have to count the THCA. So I was able to load up a CBD oil with a huge amount of CBDA that turned the minor cannabinoid in hemp to a major cannabinoid in a finished product, which is not found in today's market, I believe. So we are obviously, this is one of our lab reports, so you're not going to see the super high concentrated doses that you would off a CO2 or ethanol, because we don't concentrate. Your food is not a concentrate, and neither is the food that we make. So, anybody have any questions? Oriana?
You are counting THC again, because your delta 8 and delta 9 THC are under the detection limit, and so that 1.2 of your total THC is directly from your THC.
Huh?
Your lab report there, where it has the delta 8 THC and the delta 9 THC,
Yep.
that's the delta 9 THC is the most common form of THC that people are usually counting when they're making their products. So based on your lab report right there, your 1.2 total THC is based entirely off of THCA. Your body doesn't process THCA as it does THCable. And
Thank
when
God.
you high,
Thank God.
it's hormones isomerized into that.
Perfect. I don't want to get high.
Yeah.
You know what? Neither is your kids.
Yeah.
But you know what? They all deserve that cannabinoid, and they all can take that cannabinoid in an unadulterated method or process. So not everybody wants to get high. Matter of fact, CBD, the whole industry is you're not going to get high anyway. So I believe that you're talking about active and inactive, right? I think that's complete bullshit. Okay, so it was made up by the people in the that created those methods. So THCA is inactive if you want to get high. You're right. But who created that concept? Say that again? So, it has more. So if you're adulterating that molecule, you're throwing the other 99% of that molecule away in order to smoke it. And that's what the industry is doing. Is the CBD industry followed the THC industry to make an oil. Okay, so all of those processes make an oil to smoke first, then they put it into topicals and ingestibles, correct? Okay, your body doesn't know what the hell that is. It's in a format that your body is not designed to uptake. So when your body takes, if I gave you 2 apples, one was a genetically modified apple and they looked exactly the same, and I gave you an heirloom apple. I could convince you both they were heirloom apples, but who I can't convince is your internal person who knows exactly the difference of that apple versus the genetically modified one. This plant was never meant to be smoked. It wasn't meant to be adulterated. And the whole industry is in the same place that we're trying to get out of. If you think about it, we're throwing the other 99, I just showed you everything else that nobody else has. And it's in that plant. And we're adulterating that plant to a point that's unrecognizable by your body's makeup. So aren't we putting ourselves back in the rabbit hole that we're trying to get out of? So it's something to think about. Again, I don't believe that your body was meant to smoke anything. Whatever God you believe in didn't make you smoke anything either. So.
What benefits do you see to the acid form? Like, how is it different?
It's, well, I don't, to be honest, I'm not a doctor. I play one on the weekends with my girlfriend, but that's about it. And
We need what Jennifer's perspective would probably be on that.
Yeah.
So we take care of 3,000 people, we have 900 people taking CBD every month. And she writes medical marijuana cards, we do seminars over the Northwest, but especially with cases like JT, really cool team. And so in that process of that question, I think that the more we've started getting to just THC-free products, because people are, we have jailers and cops and firefighters and all these people, with the THC-free product, we're seeing less and less quality results for the patient. And so we're battling that clinic. We have 4 wellness centers, and we see hundreds of people all the time. And it's like they'll come in and say, "I want the THC-free product because my grandpa said this." We're like, all right. So we use Lost Leafs products. It's just a couple booths down from JT out here, and he's a great vendor to us. But the only reason we have it is because that person will not buy anything until I can convince them. Now we have a product that you're sharing some stuff with me that he's developing in that direction, but. That's why we have that product. So we don't see the results from CBD products unless we have the full entourage of all the terpenes, the THCA, the delta nut. We want to see. I want to see 0.3% THC in a product, or 0.2. And so taking that further down, it's hard for us. And in the medical seminars that we go to at the naturopathic college for the pharmacology. They want to see you get full spectrum. not an isolate of just CBD. So it's hard to pick off which ones you need for which.
Industry's so new.
It's tough, you know? I tell people, start low, go slow. Use JT's product. If you don't like it, use Loxley's product. If they don't like doing sublinguals, then I've got soft gels that they can get that I get out of San Diego. They're a great product. They're not his product, but he doesn't have soft gels right now. And so I've got people that, I've got one thing that's hitting everybody, you know, so it's a hard market like that. It's tough. I can say the biggest thing, the lawsuits haven't hit medical providers yet, where they do have adulterated products and they have isolates that aren't performing. The doctors haven't started being sued yet. Once that party starts,
You know how isolates make.
it's gonna happen. We're scared of it,
Yeah.
you know?
You
Because
wanna give you,
Yeah,
would
and
you
that's
feel
what I'm
comfortable
like-
giving your baby hexane?
We're not allowed to use, I don't know, like, I
We
know
forgot
it's
that.
a policy
We
where
forgot.
you're watching
Sorry.
it, but we're not allowed to
Yes.
have like text or vaccine and all that. We have to, no, it's kind of, it's safe.
so we forgot about we can talk more outside.
Oh, no, no, no.
Thanks for,
Yeah.
that's why I pulled JT in. I'm like, JT, you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so chill. I can't get. It doesn't feel. Hey guys, what's up? Okay, well, I didn't catch the beginning of that class, and I didn't catch their names, but I will try and get them posted when I get back home and get more information. They have a stand here that they're selling their products. I'll probably take you by it maybe later today or tomorrow. I hope you're enjoying, and please share, everybody, and don't forget to hit the like, because apparently they count. So, okay. Hi, Zoe. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all your guys' support. Awesome. I know, huh? Smoke it. I agree. Vape it. Dab it. Dab time. I'm going to go out to the camper and have a dab. Bye, guys. Catch you later.
I think it's actually.
Love you.